This map shows the eastern Mediterranean leading up to 1453. Over the centuries, the once massive Roman Empire has shrunk until only a single isolated city-state remains, Constantinople. By this point, the empire is economically spent and politically fractured, yet the city itself remains untouched, having survived dozens of major sieges over the previous millennium. Its survival depends entirely on the Theodosian walls. This triple-layered system of moats, outer barriers, and massive inner stone towers is designed specifically to withstand the weight of traditional medieval siege engines like catapults and rams. For 11 centuries, these walls repelled 20 different armies, surviving every technological threat the medieval era could produce. By 1453, this track record made the city's defense feel less like a tactical advantage and more like an immutable law of history. Sitting across the strait is the 21-year-old Ottoman Sultan, Mehmed II. His empire controls land in both Europe and Asia, but Constantinople sits directly in the middle, physically splitting his territory in half. To unify his state, he must take the city. The strategic problem is total. The city is too well supplied to starve, and the walls are too high to scale. To succeed, Mehmed has to find a way to physically disintegrate the stone defenses themselves. Instead of traditional tactics, Mehmed turns to an emerging technology that bypasses the limitations of medieval engineering. He hires a Hungarian engineer named Orban to cast a series of bronze bombards on a scale never before seen. These cannons are over 26 feet long and require a team of 60 oxen just to move them into position. This diagram compares the physics of the two eras. A traditional trebuchet uses gravity to drop a boulder in a high, looping arc. A bombard uses gunpowder to fire a half-ton stone projectile at high velocity, striking the wall horizontally with enough force to shatter the mortar between the blocks. When the siege begins, the Ottomans establish a relentless rhythm. Heavy cannons gradually pulverize the limestone into dust. The slow reload times give the Byzantines a narrow window. Every night, citizens rush into the breaches, packing them with timber and earth to absorb the impact. The siege becomes a grinding race of attrition, pitting the mechanical firing rate of a new weapon against the physical endurance of the city's population. To break the stalemate, Mehmed executes an audacious move. He orders his naval fleet to be hauled out of the water and dragged by hand over a steep, timber-lined hill, bypassing the iron chain blocking the harbor, to attack the city's weaker seawalls. After 53 days of constant fire, the structural integrity of the main gate finally fractures. On May 29, 1453, a critical section of the Theodosian walls collapses, opening a path for the Ottoman infantry. Facing the end of his empire, Constantine XI removes his imperial ornaments and leads a final, desperate charge into the breach alongside his men. The stone barrier that had withstood every siege weapon of the ancient world had finally met a force it was never engineered to survive. In this moment, the thousand-year supremacy of the wall ended by the arrival of modern ballistics. Mehmed enters the city and converts its grandest cathedral, the Hagia Sophia, into a mosque. This marks the definitive end of the Roman Empire. In the chaos, surviving Byzantine scholars flee to Italy. They carry with them original Greek manuscripts of Euclid, Plato, and Ptolemy, texts that had been lost to the West for nearly 1,000 years. These scholars provided more than just books. They provided the linguistic keys to read them. By giving Western thinkers direct access to original Greek science and philosophy, unfiltered by medieval Latin summaries, they supplied the raw data that powered the intellectual shift toward the Renaissance. For the rest of Europe, this is an economic disaster. The Ottomans now control the Bosphorus Strait, allowing them to blockade the land routes of the Silk Road and monopolize the trade of Eastern spices and goods. European monarchs, suddenly cut off from the wealth of the East, are forced to fund high-risk maritime expeditions to find an all-water route to Asia. In this desperate scramble to bypass the Ottoman monopoly, explorers like Columbus sail into the Atlantic, eventually stumbling into the Americas and redrawing the map of the known world. By using gunpowder to shatter a single wall, Mehmed did more than end an empire. He triggered a chain reaction that forced Europe into the Atlantic, inadvertently launching the Age of Discovery and creating the modern global map.